So my name is Devin Schiro. I was the cinematographer on Storage Run. And for those of you who are unaware of what that profession is, it's essentially the person who works underneath the director and executes their vision in the lighting and camera department. So Dylan came to me with Sean Coelty with a vision for exactly what they wanted this thing to look and feel like. And it was my job to bring that to life. I met the Rogues initially through the 2011 production of D is for Dog. And I remember I came in and there was like a dress rehearsal and I was there to put together a trailer for the piece. And I was given like 30 minutes to just run around like a crazy person with my camera and just shoot as much as possible during a little dress rehearsal and then get out quick because they only had the theater for so many hours and they had a ton of work to do.
That seems about right.
I don't really work with the Rogues during their shows very much. I would get brought on kind of like as a specialty filmmaker to kind of just create promotional materials. And so any of the more cinematic looking trailers and promos that were done for the shows, such as Songs of Bilitis and Woodboy Dogfish and all those were where I was able to lend some of my filmmaking skills to this amazing theater company. But Sean called me out of the blue and he's like, "Hey Devin, would you be interested in this crazy project?" And the first thing I thought was like, "Oh boy, here we go. Okay."
Never seen that before. Is that a robot?
The first big question we were trying to figure out is like, where are we going to put the camera? We kept going back and forth for multiple hours of conversations of like, what are the robot's abilities? And like, for instance, I was saying, well, it would be cool if we could see the robot, like with the Sonori cam, but then we also like want to go back. And so we were like, well, does the robot have like, in theory, will it have like a breakaway camera? Does it have like a little camera that could poof and like, like detach from its body and then zoom around the room? And then Sean's like, no, this is a cardboard robot, man. It's like, this thing's junk. In the end, we ended up going with probably the simplest and most elegant solution, which was a helmet cam. Yeah, so Tim wears the helmet cam and then he sits on a tiny little stool and he kind of just basically just like uses his heels and kind of just, kicking the floor and kind of pushing himself around. Before that, I even was trying to come up with a solution of like, how do we get the thing to operate? Like, does the robot have feet? Does it have wheels, like shopping cart wheels where, they articulate in every direction? Or is the robot's mobility more like a tank where it's like, I feel like the storage unit itself kind of motivated a lot of these. It answered a lot of these questions for us.
It's really interesting because the movement of this was particularly important. How you started to try to imagine the robot embodied and how does the body work?
Right. I always kind of try to think of the metaphor when you're figuring this out as like you're sculpting. Like you start with this big block and the block is the idea. And then you take like a big chunk off of it. And then you take another chunk off of it. And then after a while, you're starting to shave it down and sand it down until finally it starts to emerge as something tangible. Well, in this case, it was like, Sean's like, okay, robot, that's a big chunk. Okay, needs to move, that's a big chunk. And then it's like, okay, so now we're gonna get more granular and think like, okay, how does it move? Okay, what does it look like? Okay, do we see a reflection of it? Okay, what is the world that the robot lives in? The one cool thing, actually my favorite thing that they did with the production design on this, and I, funny enough, I had no idea that this was happening. And they just, when I showed up on set, it was there and I was positively delighted, was when the robot tilts the head down, they built a forced perspective chest.
Oh, right. RAE Robotics. Wonder what this is for. What? Oh, okay.
I was like squealing. I was like, that's so good.
Well, and we were doing this on minimal resources, of course, as per usual. Mm-hmm. And you had to figure out this camera and the lighting and this look.
Yeah.
How are you used to working like this? I know you are with the Rogues, but...
No, it's pretty common. I mean, every project has different budgetary restrictions, and like, I don't care even if you had no limit on budget, there's always going to be something that challenges you. I mean, you've got to always get scrappy in some way. And in a lot of ways, I feel like those are my favorite projects because they forced me to think on my feet. It was a challenge. It was something I hadn't done before. It was a unique set of circumstances during a time where I was just dying to be creative and think outside the box. And so to combat that, I spent quite a while just kind of exploring how to basically rig a helmet cam on my own. And the weight is so front heavy that like you have this guy who has to act in this thing. So I had to figure out like, okay, what is the lightest weight wide angle lens that I can get to keep the weight from being too front heavy so it's not killing his neck. But we still had to fix all of these this follow focus thing, which didn't add that much weight. But the problem is that thing needs a battery. It needs to be powered. And so where are you going to put a battery? And so in the end, we ended up just figuring, okay, we have to rig everything to the helmet itself. And it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because having the extra battery like Velcro to the back of the helmet meant that it actually acted as a counterweight.
Did you have a favorite moment of shooting, a scene or something?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, I do.
Whoa, okay, I don't know what that is, but I was just trying to figure out how to get you to work, buddy.
The framing and the timing and everything that happened in that happened on take one, and it was perfect, and it was like a miracle that all those things happened at once. I was standing there with Dylan, and we were like, "Oh, it's perfect!" They just like, yes, like it was totally happy accident time, but it was amazing. No.